Welcome back to the Derek Show, the show where I, Derek, talk until I'm out of breath. I have been gone for a while, and where have I been? Well, we're going to cover that in a second. But first, we have a couple of things to get through. The first one is that I have merch. Yes, I have shirts on my website, derekdcomedian.company.site, and you can find them over there. They are inspired on that Frasier shirt that I wore on my second Kiltony appearance. So go over there, have a look at them if you want them. And secondly, if you happen to be somebody who uses my spreadsheet, this spreadsheet of Austin comedy venues and things like that. I know a lot of people do. It's got more than 11,000 clicks on my link tree, and yeah, it's had a lot of visits. I have opened up a little thing on my Patreon over here where you can donate $1 a month if it's useful to you, because you know this whole thing has been one grand proof of the concept of the tragedy of the commons, because you know, it gets a lot of use, and but at the same time, like every time I go out and do a comedy related thing, like, well, I can't leave the house and do a comedy related thing without somebody coming up to me and thanking me for my spreadsheet. Usually somebody who I don't even know. So those of you who are using it, yeah, thank you for spreading the word. I'm glad that it's helping a lot of people out. That's really good. But I do have this Patreon thing where, you know, if you're not poor, homeless, living in your car, etc., and you can afford the $1 a month, that would be really helpful to me. So yeah, because thanks don't pay the bills. Also, who knows? Let's see. A big thank you to Ty Rivera, who recently had me on his podcast. We'll see if it actually winds up coming out. There was an issue while we were recording that accidentally we set the recording to 4K on me, so it was like a 22 gigabyte clip. And then he was having trouble uploading it from his phone. So we'll see when that one comes out. But he had me on his podcast. It was a really, really fun conversation, and really nice to visit with him too. All right. Well, where have I been? Where have I been? Well, everyone who watches this podcast knows that I am a wildly successful talking head YouTuber with millions of subscribers and frankly tens of millions of downloads every month. You know, I don't know where these people are even finding me who aren't part of my subscriber base, but why, you know, why have you been gone? You know, if every time you make an episode of this, millions of people literally tune into it. And the answer is that I have been making smoothies for the last few weeks. And that is where I have been making smoothies. You know, not in front of the camera here, talking to people about the issues that really affect all of our lives, like bleeding horses in London and cats that get trapped in FedEx boxes. But instead, I have been making smoothies, and this time of making smoothies has reminded me. It has reminded me of that time when the Antifa and Proud Boy people got into like a milkshake fight, if I'm remembering this right. I didn't see any media on this. I only heard secondhand, and it just made me think, you know, if the Antifa and Proud Boy crowd were having a milkshake fight right outside of my store, and they were purchasing smoothies specifically to throw at each other, I would ask my boss, is it all right if I go home? Because I'm not going to make these things for these kids who clearly are bored and don't have enough to do to throw them at each other. And I think any reasonable person would feel the same. It's like, yeah, we don't make the food to waste it, but I'm pretty sure that the response would have been, no, we're making these smoothies for these people. We are making the smoothies You know, if we are asked to make a smoothie, we will make a smoothie, no matter how much or little waste there is involved. Make the damn smoothie. And because I heard one story of a shop at this franchise receiving a DoorDash order for 100 smoothies, which is not what you would expect to see on DoorDash. I mean, I thought that there was, I mean, let's face it, I haven't thought a thought about DoorDash for years, but I would have thought, if you had asked me, is there like a dollar limit, an order size limit? Apparently not. They ordered 100 smoothies, like some kind of a corporate work get together. And honestly, that day probably sucked to work. And who knows if those people tipped, because that's the only way that day would get better, is if they dropped a fat tip on the DoorDash order. Otherwise, you were just making 100 extra smoothies, plus the customers who were ordinarily coming in, without any kind of extra compensation. And that's what we're dealing with. Okay. I did record another episode, very ranty, but I mean, I liked it, but I wasn't sure if people would get it, because it was very sarcastic, a little bit unhinged. I also had a copyright violation on that one, and it was in the interim time between the last one, the Joe Biden Donald Trump presidential election one, and this one, because let's face it, the election is confusing. And it's obvious that nobody knows what to think, because, I mean, after all, candidate Harris has come out as a conservative, and Donald Trump has come out as a communist. I don't. Right. I did have a copyright infringement due to use of chunks of the song by the Bruce Springsteen classic, "Born in the USA." Yeah, I used pieces of that, and I was surprised to see the copyright infringement. I think the longest segment that I played was 25 seconds long. Well, it flagged me with a copyright infringement, and I'm just wondering, where are the days of what we used to call fair use in this country? I thought that fair. Well, now to be honest, I don't actually know the particulars of fair use, and say like maybe it's like under 20 seconds is fair use, or it's not. But I'm gonna complain about it, because that's better. It's better. Yeah, where are the days? When were the days? Well, what about sampling? What about sampling in music? Well, you can't play a little bit of just a little. I mean, because my videos have gotten flagged for like 8 seconds of a song that have been played at the beginning or the end of a stand-up set. You know, when I'm like being played on or played off. You know, and so I'm pretty sure YouTube, you're brown nosing with the music people instead of following legitimate fair use. Matter of fact, I'm gonna Google this. This has already become a fair use audio rules. In its most general sense, fair use is any copying of copyrighted material done for a limited and transformative purpose. All right, and transformative is in the quotes. So, goodness, we're going to have to figure out what that means. Such as to comment upon, criticize, or parody a copyrighted work. Oh, and I was parodying the shit out of Born in the USA. So I think take note, YouTube. I mean, I may still not release this one, because after all, on Patreon, you can find unreleased episodes of this, that one being the first one. Yeah, I may not publish that one publicly, but naughty boys. Okay. Purpose, transformation, factors considered, exceptions. Ugh. I mean, yeah, it was legalese. All right, but lawyers, you got to know them. All right. Fair use is out the windows. I mean, even there was a time in the 90s. I remember in the 90s, in the early 2000s, even many people had this idea of the internet being like this this vast resource for humanity, this complete archive of culture and thought, and and a record of our achievements in the abstract, and that information would be stored and saved. We have recently, and that the internet would make so many more things freely accessible to people, so many useful things, like like scientific works and classic works of art and culture and symphony and song. And we have instead found that it has been a massive shit pipeline, just dumping the lowest common denominator of things out of itself into the eye holes and ear holes of the global populace. And honestly, I don't know why we didn't see that coming, because anything that allows everybody to participate is a race to the bottom. There are reasons why exclusivity makes some things of high quality. It doesn't always make things of high quality. Sometimes it just props up somebody who embarrasses themselves. But fair use. I mean, audio recognition technology is being used by lawyers to get the least of people in trouble for an artistic borrowing of pieces of a song for sophisticated social commentary that these automatic algorithms could frankly never understand. Oh, never say never, Mr. Bond. Okay, but that they do not understand. And instead, those things get you in trouble when you use a little bit of Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen, who is a controversial figure in his own right. I mean, you ask some Americans if they like Bruce Springsteen, and they say he's the greatest performer of all time. The 4-hour concerts he puts on 100 a year, is the most look at stamina. He just gives us and loves his fans, And I'm sure that's all true. But then there are other people who hate him just because they have heard that speech too many times. But that's not the point. The point is that fair use is out the window. You can't even find sheet music of classical music that has been published for centuries, without being asked to pay $5 to download a PDF. I mean, what the heck is that? Scribed? Get the heck out of here. I mean, that's what we thought one of the benefits of the internet would be, is that whatever's in the public domain, yes, thank you Project Gutenberg, thank you LibriVox, all that, whatever's in the public domain would be freely accessible to everybody. But now you have to go to the Pirate Bay or the Internet Archive, archive.org, in order to find the kinds of things that we thought would be like front page, easy access on the internet. Instead, you have to associate yourself with criminal elements, and Bottoms up. All right. Well, that was a good introduction. Patreon shirts, talked about Ty Rivera, copyright infringement, Proud Boys and Antifa, a milkshake fight. I actually want to look up the story and find out a little bit more of this. And let's see if Google even gives us what we want. Proud Boys, Antifa, milkshake fight. Demonstrators clash. Oh, in Portland, Oregon. Of course. Oh, a dubious claim of cement milkshakes. Oh yeah, I heard about that. Cement. This suddenly got a lot less fun. Oh wait. How a right-wing troll demonized Antifa to the mainstream. That's Rolling Stone. The Independent. Portland police provide no evidence for claim milkshake. Okay, so it could be. Protesters aligned with Antifa, the anti-fascist movement, showed up, and some of them sold vegan milkshakes to other protesters. Okay, that's different. Oh, it seems like the cement milkshakes thing was completely... It may have been completely a... whatchamacallit? A rumor, which is great, because, honestly, 11 a.m. is too early. It's too early to be bummed out by a cement milkshake. Demonstrators clash. In Portland, Oregon, police warn about concrete milkshakes. Police believe cups thrown at officers and others were filled with quick-drying concrete. Yeah, although, what if it was just a kind of like brownish gray, milkshake, like a coffee milkshake, and somebody got hit really hard, like, oh, that hurt, it must have been full of cement. Okay, far be it from me to spread more rumors and compound problems. Police in Portland, Oregon, and this was back in 2019, so yeah. In Portland, Oregon, declared an unlawful assembly Saturday after Antifa protesters clashed with far-right demonstrators, including the Proud Boys, in the downtown area, resulting in multiple injuries. Authorities said they received reports that some demonstrators during the noontime action threw milkshakes that were actually cups mixed with quick-drying concrete, a powder and water mixture that can be set in as little as 10 minutes and cause physical harm. Police have received information that some of the milkshakes thrown today in the demonstration contained quick-drying concrete. The police department tweeted, "We are encouraging anyone hit with a substance today to report it to police." Now, I want to get the other perspective. The other side, Portland police provide no evidence for claim. Yeah, this is the Independent. I don't know what kind of spin they have. The one I was watching, the one I was reading right there was NBC News. Portland police provide no evidence for claim milkshakes thrown at far-right groups contain quick-drying cement. 3 suspects arrested amid violence. Police have provided no evidence that anti-fascist protesters threw milkshakes mixed with quick-drying concrete during violent clashes in Portland over the weekend. Conservative writer Andy Ngo was one of a number of people injured when he was attacked by masked anti-fascists during demonstrations in the... Okay, so it sounds as if the Independent has probably a very heavy conservative bias, whereas NBC, I think, is reputed as having a liberal bias. Let's see, what political bias does the Independent have? And these are clearly things that we should be expecting to get accurate reporting on. Let's find out. It has been seen as leaning to the left wing of the political spectrum, making it more a competitor of The Guardian. However, The Independent tends to take a liberal pro-market stance on economic issues. The Independent on Sunday referred to itself as proudly liberal newspaper. All right, so it is a liberal newspaper, but it's just fact-checking. Like, you silly Americans claiming that there was concrete in the cups. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then it seems like somebody who wanted to be part of the demonstration was just selling vegan milkshakes. Like, okay, well, since it's going to be an event and there's going to be Antifa people there, and, my goodness, a certain percentage of them will want a vegan milkshake, then that is the enterprising spirit of America. Find where people are angry and sell things to them that caters to their anger. Discover some dad is having trouble with his golf swing. Sell him a multi-thousand ball tracking system that you can set up in your garage and practice your swing with. He won't get better, but at least his anger will be temporarily abated. If protesters are meeting in downtown Portland to fight fascism, so-called, then sell them vegan milkshakes. This is the only thing that nutritionally will sustain the anti-fascist protest. It's something about the plant proteins. I heard a lecture at Stanford talking about it this last week. I can't remember exactly what, but plant proteins will sustain an anti-fascist protest from now until Ragnarok. Yeah. And you wonder why I haven't been here. Instead I've been making milkshakes. Well, smoothies they're called. But really, let's face it, they're milkshakes. The place that I was working is one of those places that masquerades as a health food place, but really it's a dessert spot. Also, I have a feeling that a certain percentage of the clientele are people who are like really convinced that recycling always works 100% of the time. I recently watched Independence Day with Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith, the classic 90s film, and it was stark to see like Jeff Goldblum's character. He was this sort of like this do-gooder, right, and all, but he was so worried about the recycling issue, which was something that I just couldn't help but find like a little bit funny. It's like we wouldn't even if it was like a sciencey geeky guy, like we wouldn't portray a virtuous person as like really being worried about the recycling issue these days, because that was the anthem back in the 90s. Reduce your use of things, reuse things to prevent additional waste, and recycle, as a last resort. And then there's the landfill, which most of your recycling goes to anyways. Sorry to burst your bubble, but that was, his character had this like had this passion for recycling that I remembered. Oh my gosh, this was like, that was the, that was the I'm going to save the planet, move back in those days. These days, I mean, if you're over 20 years old and have a memory, you probably find that the summers are hotter these days than they were when you were a child. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, mass migration. People are talking about mass migration as if it's a political issue. What if it's just a temperature issue? I don't know exactly what's going on at the southern border. I have a friend who drove his motorcycle all the way down there to see what's going on at Eagle Pass or wherever it's called. I forget. Who knows? Do you care? Can't tell. But he drove all the way down there. He said it's crazy and that there's like a huge number of people coming over. I'm not going to express an opinion one way or the other, whether that's good or bad. I mean, there's potential. There's economic potential in having more people. There's also like a cultural shit that can happen. It's hard to assimilate people into a society, both in the cultural sense and in the official sense. But also, human beings generally are, act well towards each other until some screwed up stuff goes down. But I had a friend who went down to Eagle Pass, and but maybe people are migrating north because it's so damn hot in the middle of the planet. So, and that's something that people were talking about as a potential consequence of climate change years ago. I don't know, 8 years ago, is that when I first heard about it? I'm sure there's somebody who could one up me on that. Make the smoothies. Make the smoothies when they order them. It doesn't matter if they get wasted, because we have a profit motive. We care about recycling, yes, but you know, they're throwing the smoothies at each other right outside of our storefront. But we're going to make the smoothies anyways, because when they walk in covered in smoothie themselves, we don't know. You know, we don't know if they're going to throw it at someone, or maybe they've just had enough and they're here for a refreshing treat, a nutritious snack, something to alleviate the frustrations of the day as strawberry chunks fall off of their face and ice milk runs down into their pant legs. Make the smoothies. Because that is what's going to grow the economy. Is if you make the smoothies, the company is more profitable. Our index on the S&P or on the stock market will go up. And then the NASDAQ will increase. And so make the smoothies, because it promotes economic growth. I mean, never mind the wasted fruit and all of the compostable plastic that is littering the streets outside, but make the smoothies. The smoothies were made to be made, and they were made to be sold to people who didn't care what the hell happened to them. I wish that my producer was more on the ball, you know, but you see him back there, Hobbs, you know, just doing whatever, you know. It's I honestly, I think I would have had time to do an episode earlier if my producer had been with it, and you know, just hadn't just been staring inanimately off into the 1,000-yard distance from his perch on top of a bookshelf. I recently went to a show. I've had a very fun time. Thank you for this portrait, this portrait that I received from somebody. We were supposed to draw each other, and honestly, I think that this is the best likeness I've ever gotten. There are a few other likenesses of me, like a couple of ginger big birds, you know, pinned up on my cork board up there. I'm not going to take them down, but this is this most recent, you know, and just like the nostril size alone, it's like, does he really need air? I mean, so thank you. I had a portrait done. Make the smoothies, because the smoothies will make America great. Make the smoothies. Some interesting things in the news here. A vessel rescued in English Channel after emergency call to Dover, Delaware, instead of Dover, England. By Randall Chase, Associated Press, Dover, Delaware. Police dispatchers in Delaware's capital city are being lauded for helping direct rescuers to a boat foundering in the English Channel thousands of miles away. Dispatchers for the city of Dover found themselves at the center of an international rescue effort last month after receiving a call from an Albanian man who thought he was calling emergency personnel in Dover, England. understandable mistake. I mean, how many people have taken a flight to Granada, Spain, when they intended on going to Grenada, the island? It's creeping into the quadruple digits at this point. The mix-up happened August 7th when the man learned that his brother's boat was sinking in the English Channel. Maybe he forgot to put the plug back in. According to Delaware authorities, the caller had conducted an internet search for the Dover Police Department, and the first search result on the screen proved to be Dover, Delaware Police Department. Police officials said in a news release Thursday, the family member. I think we know how this story goes. It's that they, this like, well, this isn't Dover, England, but here, let us get in touch with the people over there, and we'll get you safe. It's like, boy, definitely don't want you at the bottom of the channel. I mean, after all, there's already enough failed long distance swimmers rotting down there. 15 minutes and 48 seconds after the initial call, the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency confirmed that rescuers were on their way to the vessel. Very fast response time. Fantastic. I mean, so I'm imagining the phone call went something like this, Yes? Yes, hello. Oh, all right. An emergency? What's the nature? Please, what's the nature of your emergency? You're sinking on a boat. Yeah. Yes. In the English Channel? Do you know who you're calling? You're right. Yes. Don't get upset, sir. I understand. It's an urgent matter. Right. Well, we're a long way away from there. Can we connect you to somebody? Oh, Dover, England. This is Dover in the state of Delaware, United States of America. But hey, look, we have phone and computer equipment here. Let's patch that call through and then get you safe. You're not underwater yet. Okay, anyways, okay. So thank you so much for the call. What's a callback number for you? Okay, good callback number. Okay, great. I'll get that phone call right out to the Dover Coast Guard. Okay, bye. And then 14 minutes and 48 seconds later, they come and get him. Okay. Studies on pigeon-guided missiles, swimming abilities of dead fish among Ig Nobels winners. The Ig Nobel prizes, you'll find out. By Michael Casey, Boston, Associated Press. A study that explores the feasibility of using pigeons to guide missiles, and one that looks like at the swimming abilities of dead fish, were among the winners Thursday of this year's Ig Nobels, the prize for comical scientific achievement. Held less than a month before the actual Nobel Prizes are announced, the 34th annual Ig Nobel Prize ceremony, I bet that it is an MIT prank. I bet that was created first there. It's like, yeah, they want to entertain. Oh, and there it is. The annual Ig Nobel Prize ceremony at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. That it just smacks of the other things that MIT students have done, like taking one of the giant domes that they have lecture halls in and so forth, and putting like a pink nipple on top and calling it the Great Breast of Knowledge. You can Google that, by the way. Was organized by the Annals of Improbable Research magazine's website to make people, gosh, that sounds like fun, to make people laugh and think. Winners received a transparent box containing historic items related to Murphy's Law, the theme of the night, and a nearly worthless Zimbabwean $10 trillion bill. Actual Nobel laureates handed the winners their prizes. I mean, because there are scads of them in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I mean, they're if there were more Nobel laureates in Cambridge, Massachusetts, there would be unemployed Nobel laureates in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Just telling you, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, the Nobel laureate market is saturated. While some politicians were trying to make sensible things sound crazy, scientists discovered some crazy-sounding things that make a lot of sense. Mark Abrahams. I like that turn of phrase. Mark Abrams, master of ceremonies and editor of the magazine, said in an email interview, the ceremony started with Kees Mulliker, winner of 2003 Ig Nobel for biology, giving out safety instructions. His prize was for a study that documented the existence of homosexual necrophilia in mallard ducks. Okay. This is the duck, he said, holding up a duck. This is the dead one. After that, someone came on stage wearing a yellow target on their chest and a plastic face mask. Soon, they were inundated with people in the audience throwing paper airplanes at them. That sounds like fun. That's the kind of fun that we need. What? Then the awards began. Several dry presentations, which were interrupted by a girl coming on stage and repeated yelling, "Please stop! I'm bored!" The awards ceremony was broken. Okay, you need to do a little bit of editing here, Mr. Michael Casey. Put an extra "was" in that sentence. Was also broken up by an international song competition inspired by Murphy's Law, including one about coleslaw and another about the legal system. All right. The winners were honored in 10 categories, including for peace and anatomy. Among them were scientists who showed a vine from Chile imitates the shape of artificial plants nearby, and another study that examined when the hair on people's heads in the northern hemisphere swirled in the same direction as and another study that examined whether the hair on people's heads in the northern hemisphere swirled in the same direction as someone's hair in the southern hemisphere. I'm guessing the answer is yes, but also vines imitating artificial plants. It might not be significant, but it is interesting. Other winners include a group of scientists who showed that fake medicine that causes side effects can be more effective than fake medicine that doesn't cause side effects, and one showing that's also very interesting because maybe even though there's a side effect and it's negative, like you can feel that it's working, so you convince yourself even more with the placebo effect. This sounds like fun, paper airplanes. Who doesn't like that? And some animals are capable of breathing through their anus. I miss Massachusetts. I think I'm going to leave Austin, Texas tomorrow and just live in Massachusetts. Hang the circumstances. I'm there. Winners who came on stage wearing fish-inspired hats. I think, I don't need to read any more of that, but a delight. The cover image is a guy holding a stuffed fish with like an X on its eye and a pool noodle. Maybe the pool noodle was used to demonstrate a creature breathing through its anus. I don't know, but I'm dying to find out. Ah, yes. Foreign athletes putting America to shame once again in the press. This Brazilian dog is a footvolley star. He teaches beachgoers how to play their own game. By David Biller, Rio de Janeiro, Associated Press. Rio de Janeiro's main beaches bustle with commotion on sunny weekends, but activity ground to a near standstill on one stretch of sand. People held up their phones to record athletic feats they'd never before witnessed or even imagined. The game, footvolley, a combination of football and beach volleyball. He says soccer, but we don't need him to translate that for us. Yeah. The athlete, a 3-year-old border collie named Floki. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, whatever. Yeah, no, it's a dog. It's a dog playing volleyball, but with a football. And yeah, and the way you play this volleyball with a football is you can only strike the soccer ball, the football, any way that you would be able to during a soccer match. Boring. I mean, it looked more interesting yesterday when I looked it up, but just Brazilian dogs. I bet that Brazilian dog is better than better than most footballers in the American Football League. By which I mean soccer players in the American International Football. LA Galaxy. Right. Well, it's such a pleasure to reconnect with my millions of subscribers and tens of millions of downloaders, and this has been The Derek Show.